Gauranga boliya, do bahu tuliya, nachiya nachiya, bedaure. Gauranga boliya, bedaure, do bahu tuliya, nachiya nachiya, bedaure. Bhajo Gaurango, Kaho Gaurango, Laho Gaurangero, Namare. Gauranga Bhajile, Gauranga Bhajilo, Gauranga Jopilo, Gauranga Bhajilo, Gauranga Jopilo, Dukhero avasane re. Gauranga Bhajilo, Gauranga Jopilo, Dukhero avasane re. Gauranga Bhajilo, Gauranga Japilo, Dukhero avasane re. Bhajo Gaurango, Laho Gaurango, Kaho Gaurangero Namare. Jai Jana Gauranga Jai Jai Ho Amara Pranare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so we begin. Let me welcome you all to the Level 2, just going deeper into the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, we are doing knowledge of the absolute. So we are starting the Bhakti chapters. Like we have said several times, chapters 1 to 6 are mainly Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga, and 7 to 12 are Bhakti Yoga, and 13 to 18 are the Jnana Yoga. Although all pervade everything, but it's not that. Bhakti, of course, is there everywhere. There's no shloka where Prabhupada does not mention bhakti. So bhakti is most important, it's there everywhere. But 7 to 12 caters to those who are really desiring bhakti. So let's begin Bhagavad Gita chapter 7. Before we begin, we need to pay our gratitude and humble obeisances and seek the blessings of the beautiful deities of Sri Sri Radha Govinda temple at ISKCON Mangaluru. And also to our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, Namishta Das Prabhu, and my Shiksha Gurus, Aishwarya Mataji and Rashmi Mataji. So we saw in chapter 6 how advancing in yoga through detached work is to be done in the first 4 verses. And then we understood Yoga Rudha, and we understood the further stages of practice in yoga. And then we looked at the different methods by which, you can control the turbulent mind. And Krishna, when Arjuna asks, I can't control my mind, and Krishna answers, of course you can. He says that it is possible through detachment, vairagya, you can do it through detachment and through practice. And then abhyasena yogena, vairagyena. So both he says abhyasena and vairagyena. And then Arjuna asks the most impressive question that, we're all on this path, but what will happen if we don't really go back to Godhead in this very birth? And then Krishna will beautifully explain that you will either get a birth in an opulent family or in a Vaishnava family. Vaishnava family is a tougher one. Opulent family, there are chances of fall. But why opulent? Because you will not have to bother about your basic necessities of life, and so you can concentrate more on spirituality. So that's the reason why an unsuccessful yogi in the next birth, first of all, because he also earns a lot of pious activities. He will enjoy several years in the upper planets. He will be able to enjoy, and then when he's burned, all his punya is over, he will come and he will be born in in such a way, because the spiritual credits never die. All the other material credits may die, but the spiritual credits are always there. So wherever he left off, from there he will begin his spiritual journey. He doesn't have to start from ABC. That's why every day, even little progress we make, the beautiful thing is that it is forever. There is, Krishna says that there is no fall for a devotee. And then in the last verses, we saw about the topmost yogis. And now in chapter 7 also has 6 sections. There are some very, very important sections and some sections which are sometimes difficult to digest unless you unlearn. You cannot learn new things unless you unlearn what you already know. So the Gita is coming straight from Krishna, and when Krishna, the Lord himself, we always been so eager to know about Krishna. And here in this chapter 7 to 12, Krishna is here standing before us. The Bhagavad Gita is incarnation of Krishna. And Krishna is right before us right now, and he is willing to tell us about him. We are the ones who we shut ourselves out and we don't want to, believe, and we say, how can we believe? We bring out all these doubts in our minds, and we're not able to understand that Krishna is God, and therefore he has to keep on explaining in a variety of ways. Why does he do that? Because the aim of life is to understand that. And Krishna says that once you just understand that simple truth that God, Krishna, is all there is, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, that's a difficult thing. Sa Mahatma, such a great person who understood this, Durlabha, it's not easy because you need to have earned that much of pious, things, pious spiritual points to yourself, plus you need to have the capacity to understand. If your mind is full of desires and your mind is full of, so many the modes which you have been following in all your previous births, and so much of karma left to fulfill and so many desires, then Krishna will not even bring the Gita near you. It will not come. Even if it comes also, you will be like, I don't know, I don't want to believe. And that is the way Krishna will not give you the intelligence to understand the Gita. So you can understand that Krishna is God and that, he is your best friend. And when you start understanding these things slowly, Krishna will give you opportunities not only to understand the Gita, but also to bring other people to understand. Because once you understand how beautiful it is, you enjoy the higher taste and you have no interest at all in any lower taste, and you'll find it miraculous within yourself. It will be like you'll feel the miracle happening. As if you just keep chanting regularly, you will find such miracles happening where you actually start becoming a devotee. And the joy, of course, none of us are devotees. We are just, experiencing small drops here and there. But even that is so immense and it looks so prospective. It's so attractive to understand and go further in Krishna consciousness. It's a very attractive thing which happens to us. Of course, everybody is at different beginner stages here. We are all neophytes trying to understand and teach each other. And in teaching, we learn. And that's what Prabhupada wanted. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted. Our gurus wanted that. Krishna himself wanted that. He says, you must spread this message. Nobody is more dear to me than that person who spreads this message of the Bhagavad Gita. So try in different ways. You can talk to your friends or your parents or anybody who is slightly receptive. Don't, of course, talk to non-devotees, but start trying. Everybody must start trying to speak and explain the Gita from whatever you understand. Maybe just the modes, maybe the point over thinking, feeling, and willing, or the basic first lesson that we learn: we are not the body, we are the soul. And you have to be able to prove. So that's why you need to read a lot of Prabhupada books. If you don't read, lots of Prabhupada books, which is full of scriptural references, and what Prabhupada says is he is our Jagat Guru for this age. For the next 10,000 years, Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON movement will be the Jagat Guru, and that is their word. So all we need to do is we need not struggle and break our head. We just need to be part of this growing movement by understanding the Gita as it is very well. Read it every day. Try to read as much as you can. Read the Srimad Bhagavatam for the higher level. And the highest level is Chaitanya Charanamrit. So you can try and first of all see that you have all these books at home. And then if you don't, you can place an order at the ISKCON Mangaluru store also, or you can just go to a nearby ISKCON temple and purchase this. If it's not available, there are always different places where you can call up and try and get it arranged. So do make sure that you are engaged in growing in your knowledge of Krishna consciousness by reading Prabhupada's book, so that when you open your mouth and talk to someone, they cannot beat you in the argument. You have read so well and you are so clearly convinced yourself that this is the ultimate truth. If you don't have that conviction, you will find that you will not be effective, right? So there's an analogy for this. Suppose a father is not able to produce a child, it's invariably the father is having some deficiency. So similarly, if we are not able to impregnate others with Krishna consciousness, it means we are not strong in our Krishna consciousness. Of course, you will find some people who will never, the incorrigible. For them, we are not talking about such people. You don't need to go and convince an atheist or convince somebody who is totally against it. You don't need to go and do that. If an opportunity comes, you can talk to them. But it is our duty, once we have understood the Gita, even a little bit, it is our duty to give it to as many people as possible. Either you start your own online class, or you ask the different heads for giving you some kind of a what do you call it, seva. So seva is very important. Of course, association is very important. Book reading and bhakti, all this is very important. Chanting is a very, very, very important. And also serving, seva. Just saying, oh Krishna, I love you, oh Krishna, I love you is not enough. You need to do the seva. And then we, in our material bodies, conditioned state, we actually need that. In this conditioned state, that is exactly what we need. We need to read a lot of books. We need to preach. So this was my main message in this beginning of chapter 7. And I hope everybody in this class will become a preacher sometime. Although number of children, learners have really, number of those who joined the class have reduced. Good to see Deepak Prabhu after some time. Lakshman Varma Prabhu has joined. Manas Prabhu. Aruno Priya. Yeah, okay. So right. Krishna Kumar Prabhu, if you can send me a screenshot of those who participate today, because I would like to know. And also, if you can just check who is following up, because I have some devotees in the group also who are willing to make calls and check as to why someone has stopped joining. Okay.
No, I'm not clear, Mataji. Once again, please.
Can you just help me in two things? One is that just check who for level 2 9 o'clock batch is in charge of retaining. So we have different groups of people who are working.
Yeah. Counseling group. Yeah.
So the counseling or the retaining group, whether they are in touch with our level 2 members and they are making calls, and because the numbers have dwindled, and I would like to, if I had time, actually personally make the calls also, but I also need the numbers for that. I don't have the numbers also with me. Like, it must be there in the attendance sheet, but I need those numbers. Also in the group, we have some devotees who we give them the numbers also. They are also willing to call and find out and tell them to join back, because it's very easy to fall off Krishna consciousness. Very, very easy. It looks so tough that people will just drop out very easily. That's why invariably in every class, level 1 especially, you will find that those who register would be like 300, 400. Those who join will be just like maybe 170 or 50. And by the end of the class, it will be like 40, 50 at the most, or even less, very less. So then this dwindling is natural, but still we try to follow up. So, so these are the two.
I'll do that, Mataji. I'll just put out a message in the counseling group
Yes,
about level 2 retention. I'll just check with them, Mataji.
yeah. Thank you very much, Prabhu. That would be great help. So now let's discuss the parts of the chapter 7. It begins by saying that, giving a lot of importance to hearing. Shrunu, Krishna will say. He uses that in other verses also. Shrunu is really, really important. Everything begins by attentive listening, surrendered listening. Only then the knowledge will enter. If you say that I am going to keep on arguing at every line, there are so many devotees, not devotees, non-devotees, who when they start listening to the Gita, the first line, how do you know? How is it possible? They will always be questioning it. Then how will the knowledge percolate, into your brain? if you just keep on questioning it every sentence. So first you should be able to hear with faith and with love and devotion, and then the knowledge will enter. And after that, if you want, after the knowledge enters and you understood it very well, then if you want, there is no harm in leaving. Krishna says at the end of the 18 chapters, he says, what is that? Yeah, that's Guru, right? He tells Arjuna, whatever you want, go ahead and do that. So that's what Krishna says at the end. He says that now I have told you everything. Now, whatever you want, you can decide. So, but then you should give it an opportunity. So this is what you will also tell to devotees to whom or non-devotees to whom you are trying to preach. Give it an opportunity. Don't, even when we are climbing a bus, we put our faith on the driver, right? We don't know if he's drunk, if he's going to do something, or, we don't know. We just sit on that bus and we have faith that the driver knows where to go, and this is a bus number and to go to so and so place. You go to the doctor, you place faith. You don't know even if the doctor knows anything, or he might make a mistake, because they keep making mistakes also. Doctors also make so many errors. You just place your faith. Likewise, you can say that place your faith that this is a science, Krishna consciousness. You just need to follow it and you will find amazing results. So for that, you also need to follow and get amazing results. So when you speak to others, you are honest about it. You are genuinely as you're sharing it. So knowing Krishna, 7.1 to 3 will be understanding how important hearing about Krishna is if you want to know Krishna. First of all, you should have an intense desire to know Krishna. That is important. Then from 7.4 to 12, we understand how Krishna, explains very beautifully that both material and spiritual energies are all coming from him. Krishna is a source of absolutely everything, both material and spiritual. There cannot be any other source. Then 7.13 and 14, two verses, Krishna will briefly talk about the three modes which are controlled by Krishna himself, and therefore we can escape these modes only by the mercy of Krishna himself. If we prayed all the demigods together also, they cannot give the blessing because they themselves don't have it. They are themselves trapped in the material world. So if you want to escape from the three modes and escape this material world, you have to pray and surrender to Krishna. That is what those two verses will explain to us with clarity. And then we are going to see how the impious people lack knowledge. And that is the reason they don't surrender. What is the reason? Avidya. The reason for people not willing to surrender is ignorance or stupidity or avidya. That is the reason. So then, and some people will be close-minded so much that you cannot even start explaining. So the impious people, Krishna says in 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, 5 verses that they lack knowledge and they will never surrender. And we will see different kinds of people who will never surrender. At the same time, the pious people, those who have got some spiritual credits, or those whom suddenly Krishna gives costless mercy sometimes, which is very, very rare. But it happens. You can pray for that. You can pray for the costless mercy, asking Krishna that please help me to surrender to you. I want to surrender, and therefore whoever surrenders the knowledge, Krishna says, in chapter 10, he says in the Chatushloki that he feels so tesham sattva yuktanam bhajatam preeti purvakam. If you keep on devotionally chant satata yuktanam, then what does Krishna do? Dadami buddhi yogantam. He will give you the buddhi yoga. He will make you intelligent enough to understand. If you only constantly chant and remember him, he will give you the buddhi. He says, Dadami buddhi yogantam yena mam upayantite. How can you come back to me? I will be the one explaining to you. So that's what he will talk about. And then in 7.20 to 25, Krishna says that those who have no knowledge, those who surrender, who are the other kind of people? Those who surrender to demigods and those who are impersonalists. So these are the very sad, huge chunks of Hindus fall under these categories, and that is a sad thing. They are not willing to listen at all about the sacred science, which is the Bhagavad Gita, and the Bhagavatam, which is written in the ripe age. Ripe age means when he was most mature. He had already written the Mahabharata and everything, and he wrote the Bhagavatam at the end. Who? Vedavyas. So, all these great personalities also, are the ones who are teaching us that we don't have to surrender to demigods, that there will be people who surrender to demigods, and there will be impersonalists as well. It's because they don't have knowledge. And 7.26 to 30, the last section of chapter 7, which we hope to finish tomorrow, is how the living entity is bewildered because of the three modes of nature, because he's conditioned. We are all conditioned. Our brain is like, what is the artificial intelligence or whatever. All those programs are fed inside. Similarly, we are fed for birds and birds together. Our brain is fed with so much of stuff that it is difficult for us to unlearn and then learn. So last verse talks about the bewilderment of the living entity and his freedom through how can he become free? By knowledge of Krishna. So best of all, in chapter 6, Krishna, ends the whole chapter when we studied last week on Tuesday. Krishna says the best of all yogis is the one who prays to this, transcendental appearance of Krishna. Krishna and Arjuna in the chariot is actually whoever looked at them, right, in the battle and died. They were so beautiful actually. They would forget to fight also. So beautiful they were looking together, especially Krishna. They would even forget to fight. And then whoever died in front of Krishna, by looking at him, they all achieved liberation. So in chapter 6, Krishna is talking about the end. He said that the best of all yogis is one who thinks about him always, nityam. And what is the other word? Without any breaks. There's one more word for that. Forget suddenly. And they should concentrate on Krishna in full faith. They simply chant every day with your mouths without really thinking about the chant. Then the chant, not that it will be useless, it had the sound vibrations are very powerful, but it's always good. So you need to concentrate on Krishna and have full faith on him. Chapter 7, knowledge of absolute. Then after chapter 6, Krishna will stress about the power of hearing, the way of acquiring knowledge by descending process as the only process. This is again a very sad situation where people constantly try to only go by ascending process. I will use my logic, I will use my knowledge, and I will listen and I will analyze and I will then understand. When you go by that ascending process, you can hardly understand. Like the ant trying to understand the whole, maybe the house. Nothing you can understand. Only by the grace of Krishna you can understand, and only when you read scriptures which are simplified for our stupid brains, when you read that and you have a nice devotee who is explaining with so much of love for Krishna, then it's called the descending process, where you actually understand that our senses are imperfect. We have those four horrible tendencies of cheating others. We have the tendency of getting illusioned. We have a tendency of what is the other two thing? What are the other two things? We of making mistakes, right? We have a tendency. It is very normal for nobody is there who has not made a mistake. We have a tendency to make mistakes, and there's finally one more which I can't remember. So these are the defects of the human brain, of our human system. The God himself tells us, because he's a manufacturer, he knows what are the defects. So he tells us these are the defects with which you are made. And therefore, because of Kali Yuga and because of whatever reasons, we don't have to think too much logically. It's always easy, better if you can just listen in faith. Of course, not that you don't have questions. You have to raise questions. But that basic faith, without that, you can't understand. You have to hear with faith. And then you should understand that descending process is the only process. You can't say that I will use my own intelligence and understand everything. Knowing Krishna is by the process of hearing him. Knowing Krishna as the source of matter and spirit, which we will learn in this chapter. We will study how Krishna controls the modes of material nature in this chapter. We will also study how the impious people will never surrender and the pious people are ready to surrender. And some people are there who will not still surrender to Krishna because of different reasons, because of wherever they are in their journey. Number one, because of the kind of family they are born into and the circumstances of their life. That's the reason why many of them will turn to demigods and many of them will turn to impersonalism. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu clearly declares that that is your death. It is actually the death when you start thinking that demigod worship and impersonalism are the highest one. Impersonalists, of course, always say that bhaktas and all are lower than them because they feel that that's just a cheaper way or just a lower way of understanding Krishna. Whereas the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, so many places clearly declares that it is through bhakti that we need to understand Krishna. So bewilderment of living entities and freedom by knowing Krishna will be the last few verses. So let's look at the first three verses. Knowing Krishna in full by hearing him. So verses 1 to 3, I quickly read. We have half an hour, I think we can do quite a bit. So in chapter 7, verses 1 to 3 goes like this. It's not written here. श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्या सक्तमनाः पार्थ योगं युञ्जन्मदाश्रयः असंशयं समग्रं मा यथा ज्ञास्यसि तच्छृणु. And then he says, ज्ञानं तेहं सविज्ञानम् इदं वक्ष्याम्यशेषतः यज्ञात्वा नेह भूयोऽन्यज् ज्ञातव्यं ज्ञातव्यं वैविशिष्यते. Then manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatataamapi siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvatah. So these are the things that Krishna is saying in these verses. Krishna requests Arjuna to hear about his material and spiritual energies and declares that transcendentalist who understands this about Krishna is very rare. He says, Manushyanam Sahasreshu, among thousands and thousands, only one will really get a hang of who really Krishna is. Now, in the first verse, Maya Saktamana Partha Yoga Yunjan Madashya Samshayam Samagramam Yatha Nyasasi Tachrunu. Now, here, Tachrunu, Yatha Nyasasi Tachrunu. First, listen, he says. Oh Arjuna, oh son of Pritha, first listen here. How? By practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me. When you attach yourself to Krishna, automatically your detachment for everything else disappears. So, how? By practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So Krishna gives you guarantee. There are so many verses. Whenever you get time, even I have that in my to-do list. To go through each and every verse and try to categorize them in different ways and do a more detailed study. So this is what I think we should all be trying to do. So knowledge of the absolute begins by, as realized in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11. So Lord Krishna, he is explaining. Mouse disappears when I share screen actually. So Lord Krishna is the absolute truth and His Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this is realized in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavan can be the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be realized in 3 levels as per Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11. One is when you think that all the energies and the power, everything together is like one impersonal thing, Brahman. For example, the sunshine, it's a partial realization. It's actually not even a complete realization. But the little higher people who have gone more further in their spiritual journey, for them, Paramatma realization, where they know, okay, fine, it's a localized, the sun disk is there, he's always doing his duty, he's afraid of Krishna, he will never stop doing his duty of traveling around the earth and probably thereby traveling around the moon. I don't know how much circumference he'll be doing. And so thereafter, wait, where I was. The Paramatma, so sun disk, they will realize, just as you understand that there is a sun disk, similarly, you will be able to see the localized form of Paramatma within your heart. And that is called partial realization. The highest realization is to simply understand that Krishna is God. Of course, He's there everywhere. Of course, He has so many unique properties. But still, you are able to strike a friendship with Him, and you will actually find that in your life, if ever with practice, you're able to have a direct connect with Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord. When you have that direct connect, it is possible, basically. It is possible that he will reciprocate, that you can have it, and then he will not possible, but he will definitely reciprocate. You will be experiencing that if you just give it a try. That's why it's called a science. So first, living entity is a soul, and then by different yoga processes, we are all capable of elevating ourselves to spiritual self-realization. And these are the three main yoga processes. The Jnana Yoga, where Brahman realization is the ultimate destination, because they can't go beyond that, because they don't know Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So then they will be stuck in the Brahman realization. Then we have those who are Ashtanga yogis who go for the Ashtanga Yoga, and they get the Paramatma realization. They're able to actually experience the Paramatma within their heart and also within the hearts of all the people they know. They are able to see that. And then finally, Bhakti Yoga, which is, the main idea for Bhagavan. That is, and the result of Bhakti Yoga is automatically you'll be able to associate with Krishna himself as a person. That will be the amazing result. So concentrating or focusing the mind on Krishna is going to be one of the key, things which we need to do in our devotional life. You have to engage in the 9 processes. Try to learn up those 9 processes, which begins with hearing. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaran. And by constant hearing the Lord, it will purify your heart. You will develop transcendental knowledge, because Krishna says, I will, dadami buddhi yogam tam yena maam upayanti. He says, you will get to know how you can come back to my world, the spiritual world where we truly belong. Okay? And then you become free from modes of passion, anger, and passion and ignorance, basically. And so you will automatically be able to conquer lust and greed as you come out of the modes. And impurities are wiped out. So, actually you can understand the Gita. One of the criteria is to have a good back, have a, one of the criteria is, saying now, okay, I can't remember suddenly. So you need to anybody remembers, you can remind me. So you become enlivened in devotional service and you understand the science of Krishna perfectly. This is called, when you constantly focus your mind on Krishna, you will get the complete knowledge of the absolute truth. Now, these are the 9 processes of devotion and great devotees who are achieved them. So, if you begin with Shravanam, Maharaj Parikshit is the biggest example. The whole Srimad Bhagavatam came to be written because of him. And he, as you all will be already knowing the story, he was supposed to die in 7 days. He was cursed because he had put a dead snake on the neck of a rishi. Now, all this, whenever devotees or great people do some things like this, most often it is actually under the directions of the Lord. Everything is under the directions of the Lord. But, that's what we will understand, where Parikshit, he accepts, that his fate of being cursed by the son of the rishi on whose neck he had put the dead snake. And he, instead of crying and saying, oh my God, now I'm going to die, can someone kill me, or can someone save me, or whatever, if he was like that, and what will happen of my children, what will happen of my wife, and they'll all be so distraught without me. And instead of all that worry, what did he do? He accepted gracefully the curse. He could have actually asked great, sannyasis to revert it. But he didn't do that. Instead, he got himself ready for death. And actually, in all of our lives, any moment death can come. No one can say that, oh, I am perfect. There is no death for me. There is no one who escapes death in the material world, because that is the way the nature is created. So, you need to be doing just like Parikshit Maharaj. Instead of crying and all that, he decided to listen to the Bhagavatam. He knew that, in those days, this knowledge was in India, everybody knew. So it is basically, when he knows that he has to die, the best thing to do is Srimad Bhagavatam, and so he listens. So he's under Shravanam. And Kirtanam, we have the example of Sukadev Goswami. Even now, what I'm doing is Kirtanam. Whenever you talk and glorify the Lord, that is Kirtanam. It doesn't always have to be song. Even preaching is considered as Kirtanam. Vishnu Smaranam, remembering Lord Vishnu or Krishna. Pada Sevanam. You have to be like Lakshmi Devi all the time. That's why we put the tilak. Because we are drawing that Krishna's foot with the tulsi there, and we are actually putting our foreheads to that, and we are actually praying. Give me the ability to do a highest Pada Sevanam and reach the highest goal of human life. Then Archanam is when you do actually devotion to the deities. And example is Maharaj Prithu. Vandanam is when you glorify the Lord, like Akrura. And dasyam is, of course, like Hanuman, where you understood your eternal position very well, and so you want to serve as a servant, as a das. Hanuman is the best example. Finally, Atma Nivedan, of course, Bali Maharaj is the best example because he actually gave himself, he bent down and he wanted Vamna to put his first step on his own head. Not first step, the third step, and he didn't have. So he was that much full Atma Nivedanam. So even if something is happening, it's not too great in our life, we should be able to understand it's the arrangement of Krishna. Right? That's why the Pandavas never worried. Am I not able to shift this slide? Yeah, so then friendship. Yeah, Sakhyam, complete surrender. Those are the things. Now let's look at verse 7.2. Jnanam teham sa vijnanam idam vakshyamya sheshatah yajñatva neha bhuyo nyat jnatavyam avashishyate. So I shall now declare once is full knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous, that is both, materialistic and spiritual. And once you understand this knowledge, you just need to understand. You really don't even need to practice. If you just understand with clarity this, then you will remain. There will be nothing else further for you to remain, to know. Krishna says that that's all you actually need to know. And then Krishna will do the rest if we follow all those. So knowledge of the absolute is the name of the chapter that we're doing, where Lord Krishna explains both normal and numinous. So we have this Vijnanam, the complete knowledge of transcendental faith. Once you have, that's called Vijnanam. You have complete knowledge, it becomes Vijnanam, Vishesh Jnanam, not the normal Jnanam. This is Vishesh Jnanam. Sense objects, as is appearing to our senses, is disconnected from Krishna. Phenomenal is when you acquire knowledge by senses, which is, of course, a material kind of knowledge. And numinous is when you accept the authority of the great devotees and saints. And you are not the object as it is not necessarily perceived by senses. They're ready to take the whatever they're eating as it is. So um, now let's look at how Krishna is explaining to Arjuna about the qualification, which we saw in 4.3 already. Notice that if you want to understand the Gita and Krishna's words, we should be a devotee and a friend. You cannot understand him without their help. And then there are controller of both Lord Krishna he's the cause of all causes, the source of all knowledge, and the only object of meditation for yoga process. Now we come to the last verse of this section. Manushanam sahasreshu kashid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kashid mam veti tatvata. Out of thousands of men, Sahasreshu, one made endeavor for perfection. Kashchid yatati siddhaye, only one. And of those who achieved perfection, who are already siddhas, yatatam api siddhana, hardly one knows me in truth. So it's not possible for anyone to know Krishna in truth. So in verse 3, these are some things, the different grades of man are there. Some of them have animal propensities. So the other day I was talking to someone and they were like, there are so many kinds of human beings. Why are you restricting, and there are people in the tribal villages who don't wear anything and all that. So I said, fine, there will be. Of course, Krishna is saying in the Gita very clearly that they will be. But what kind of people will they be? All the time itching here and there, right? So they'll be all the time longing to only eat. What am I going to eat? Some people, in the morning itself, they say, what's for breakfast? And after having breakfast, they'll be, what's for lunch? After lunch, what's for evening? After, what's for dinner? All they can think of is food. They even say happily and proudly, I live to eat. We are born to eat. That much they love eating. And then sleeping. Some people, they just want to sleep. The exams are over, sleep. Morning, no getting up. Today is a Sunday, sleep. They just want to sleep all the time. They want to avoid coming to the realization of who you are. Swami Vivekananda says, arise, awake. Right? So we actually should arise, Jeeva Jago. Instead, what do many people? They just like to eat, sleep, and then mate. Full time their mind is thinking about mating, whom to get, how to get, whom to get. Nothing to think so much. If it is written, whatever is you're destined to be with whoever, that person will come and you will be, having a relationship of marriage, because otherwise it is illicit. And so there's no need to be obsessed about eating, sleeping, or mating, and also defending the basic things, and then Krishna is there to protect you. And if something happens, in spite of whatever care you've done, you have to accept it as a devotees will automatically accept it as a grace of Krishna. And there's a reason for that, something in your previous birth or whatever, they'll accept it because it's not coming directly, it's coming through whatever your actions are as well. So transcendental knowledge is when you rise from this eating and animal propensities of eating, sleeping, mating, defending only. It's not like they don't enjoy or they don't look at nature or they don't. They actually go around. They are doing all their regular things, but then they have transcendental knowledge, soul, super soul, body, and absolute truth. They know very well. And then in chapter 1 to 6, we saw understanding self. Okay, understanding super soul and process of realization. Difference between soul and matter is done in chapter 2 there. Jnana Yoga has been done in chapter 3 and Karma Yoga, Karma Jnana Yoga, all that has been done. And chapter 6 is Jnana Yoga. So these are the different processes. So now Krishna is saying absolute truth is the cause of all causes, supreme personality of God. He has all 6 opulences in full. You can only understand Krishna by the power of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, you won't be able to understand. Process of bhakti is not easy to practice as proclaimed by impersonalists. So that's the reason why. Process of devotional services, Vedic literatures, Upanishads are there, Puranas are there, Narada Pancharatra. All these books are there and they are supposed to ultimately lead us to devotion and not cause disturbance in society. Like people keep on arguing, why are you asking us to stop meat? There are other, Kali Devi's worshippers, they are offering whatever, chicken and goats and they're having, Upanishads, Puranas and they are actually giving us impartial knowledge and that is the reason why Vedavyas, later on he glorifies bhakti with more clarity with the help of so many senior devotees. So, in the section B, that is, we finished section A. Now, in section B of this chapter, we have verses 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 6 verses. Knowing Krishna as the source of both material and spiritual energy is the basic thing we are going to understand. This one will be there for Bhakti Shastri students. Those who are doing Bhumirapo Naro Vayu. Bhumirapo Naro Vayu Khammano Buddhirevacha Ahankara Vimudhatma. What is it? Bhumirapo nalo vayu khammano buddhireva cha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti ashtadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. All this Krishna says are my separated material energies. So, although they are part and parcel of Krishna, they are all gross and these gross things are lower than the spirit soul. And then he says in his next verse that spirit soul is the highest. He says, Aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param. And then he says, you can't and then he says, Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho Yayedam Dharyate Jagat. And what does that mean? It means that besides these, besides the gross things which cover our body, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and also the subtle ones, mind, intelligence, and ego, besides these, there is a superior energy of mind. The spirit soul which is there within each of our body is actually is a superior energy which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this nature. They are just bothered about exploiting. And then Krishna says in 7.6, all created beings have their source in these two natures. Which nature? Inferior nature and the superior nature. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am the origin and the dissolution. So Krishna is making it again and again clear that he is the one who will be ultimately, because he pervades everywhere. So easy for him it is. So he is the one who causes all that. Now, the knowledge of absolute in the text 4 in the form of a small flow chart. So thus Krishna, plenary expansions are complete. And he has material creation is just Prakriti, which is Krishna says is this lower or inferior energy. So the higher energy is the incarnations and also the different, all of us, jivas. But then we have to be careful that we don't get trapped in the circle of sitting in the sorry again. So there are 3 kinds of Vishnus: Mahavishnu, Karnodakshay Vishnu, then Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and the Kshirodakshay Vishnu. I'll not go into those details. I've done that several times. The Karnodakshay is the one who creates a whole Mahatattva. And then after that, what will Garbhodakshay do? He will enter into each of these different universes. And then he will create he will have the Brahma coming from his navel. And then what happens when Kshirodakshaya Vishnu part? Vishnu himself will enter into every atom as soon as it is created. So material world is for enjoyment of living entities. Living entities are Purusha. They are the cause, controller, enjoyer of the material energy. That's what we all are. And this material creation is temporary. All activities are directed by the three Vishnus, as we saw. And the ingredients of the material world are separated, Krishna says. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, gross elements, and mind, intelligence, and false ego are the subtle elements, which we have to get rid of both to be able to go back to the spiritual world. So besides energy, the inferior energy, the Lord superior energy, Krishna is in the form of a flowchart. Source and origin of dissolution is from Krishna. Antaranga is his internal energy, also called superior energy. Marginal is called Tatastha. And then Bahiranga is the external energy. And the soul or jivas, so you can find here Bahiranga, external energy, is part of the material world. Gross ones we have already seen, subtle ones are these, right? The soul or the jiva is exploiting the material world. Liberation means when you become free from pollution. 7.7 is a very, very important verse. It talks about the necklace. As you can see, one big, beautiful pearl necklace on the picture if you look carefully. And Matta Parataram Nanyat. No one is superior to me. Krishna himself is saying, I am God. And there is no one superior to me. There's no one. He's declaring it. But still, how do people say? How can you say that Krishna is God? Must be he's just a yogi. He's just a clever politician. If you start preaching, you'll come across all these kind of people. We have to just, be able to make more people Krishna conscious by chanting, because that's what will make us powerful enough to impregnate other people in Krishna consciousness and not become sterile. So, matta parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mayi sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva sutre manigana iva. Just like the pearls are held together by the thread, I am holding everything in place by my energy. O contrafell, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests on me, just as pearls are strung on the necklace, on the thread. So then we have opulences from 8 to 11. This will keep coming again in chapter 10. Also, there will be there this description of Krishna's glory. Then again, it will keep coming. So, what are the different opulences of Krishna is given in this verses 8 to 11 as a starter. Later, you will study it in more detail. So, what or who is Krishna, what or who is the first column, and the second one is of what. Krishna, if suppose of water, who is Krishna of water? Krishna is the taste of water. Rasoham, he says Rasoham Aksik, right? I am the taste of water. Then in the moon and sun, what is Krishna? Krishna says, I am the light of the moon and the sun. Among the Vedic mantras with so many complex chants, what is Krishna? Krishna is Oh, not that he's not there everywhere, he's everywhere. But the more, suppose you have two bulbs, one is high voltage, one is low. Obviously, when you turn both of them, high voltage, right? You want similarly, these are all the Krishna is talking about only those things which are the high voltage types, which have more of his energy. For example, sound itself, especially the sargam, saregama, Krishna loves that. And the ability of man to do anything, his own ability, whatever he's earning his livelihood with, that knowledge comes from Krishna. So, Om is a Vedic mantra, sound vibrations, where do we find that? Ether. Ability in man, I already said. And then we have the fragrance of the earth when it is wet by rain. Such a beautiful fragrance comes. That is, Krishna says, that's me. Everything is actually Krishna. Heat, is of the fire is also among the fire. For fire, heat is Krishna. All that people who are alive, not only people, microorganisms and plants and animals and human beings and everything. For everything, that original seed is Krishna. Among the intelligent people, the intelligence of those people is Krishna. The prowess of those who are, strong is coming from Krishna. Sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles, also comes from Krishna. So then we have in 7.12, ye chaiva satvika bhava rajasas tamasascha ye matta eveti tan vidhi tan natva ham teshu te mai. So what does Krishna say in 7.12? Know that all states of being, be they goodness, passion, or ignorance. So we are all in some state all the time. And all of those are also created by Krishna's energy. He says, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything. Obviously, Krishna is everything, but still, I'm a person. That's what he says. I'm independent. I'm not under the modes of nature. But why? Because they are the ones who are whom Krishna is able to control. Krishna controls. So Nirguna is actually people sometimes say, oh, Krishna is Nirguna, it's given in the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, but they fail to see that Nirguna is not related to spiritual gunas, related to material gunas. So they are, Krishna is above the three material gunas, which have been, being tormenting us for births together. So, Nirguna is not affected by modes. All material activities are conducted under the three modes. These modes emanate from the Supreme Lord. He is not subordinate to them. So, these modes come from Krishna. So, obviously, they are not, he is not subordinate to them. They themselves are created by Krishna. And the analogy is that of a king or lawmaker is not subject to the state laws. Just because I'm a king, it doesn't mean that the laws will not work upon him. It should work upon him as well. So now let's look at the 7.13 to 14. There are two verses which talks about how the three modes are controlled by Krishna through surrender. How is that possible? In 7.13, Krishna says, deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Daivi Hesha Gunama, it's a very important verse. You can learn it up. मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते. This divine energy, Daivi, Yesham, Gunamai, consisting of gunas, three gunas, Rajogun, Tamogun, and Sattvagun, is difficult to overcome. Duratyaya, very difficult. Mama Maya Duratyaya. Mameva ye prapadyanti. You have to surrender completely unto me. But those, that is what Krishna is saying, but those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond. And they will be easily able to cross. See, here Krishna is helping somebody who is drowning, right? So we are all in that situation. Krishna explains how to get free from the modes. How does you get free? Nitya Baddha means somebody who is eternally bound, very difficult to overcome since controlled by the Lord himself. The person who is Nitya Baddha is fully surrendered, very difficult to overcome what he feels for Krishna. Then the divine energy, material energy is called as divine, right? And the guna is the rope actually, and only Krishna or his bona fide representatives can rescue somebody with hope. Devotional service can help one gain release Krishna out of paternal affection for the out of paternal Krishna out of paternal affection for the Eli. What is Eli? Living entities can order his energies to release the conditioned soul. So we are all Nitya Baddhas. No one can trace the history of being conditioned. No one can say, okay, from so and so date, I've been in this body, or I've suppose a birthday, I'm not this body, I've come to the material world. So you will not know that. Difficulty by your own surrender, easy by surrender. If you think I'm going to do with my own understanding, I will work hard and understand, and that's a difficult part, not impossible, difficult. But only when you surrender, it becomes very easy because Krishna says, Tesham Sapava Yuktanam. He will give Dadami Buddhi Yogam. He will give you the intelligence. Now, here we will look at some quickly slides before we move further. The yogi merges into the material energy of the Lord. This was in some earlier class, there was a wrong concept, and I had corrected that. As per Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Brahma effulgence is actually spiritual. It's not material. The Brahma effulgence is beyond the material world. It's spiritual. And therefore, there is no activities there because it's just the energy form of Krishna. So they don't have the soul, when he reaches that Brahman realization, they don't have even a subtle body. They give up even the subtle body. Just as anybody who goes back to spiritual world, gives up not only his material body, but also his finer, because all these mind, subtler things also is given up. The verse is applicable to the Jnani school. Enlightened Jnani, when free from material contamination, gross and subtle bodies, together with the senses of the material modes of nature, is placed in the supreme and is thus liberated from material bondage. The Jnanis and devotees are actually in agreement. Till when? Till the idea that till the idea that they can get liberated from the material contamination. Till then, everything is fine. It's common. But after that, jnanis are already pacified. They get this understanding, oh, I'll be liberated, I'll be one with Brahman, and they're happy with it. But the devotees, they don't want to merge, right? They want to continuously be doing separate. They want to be separate from Krishna and continuously be doing spiritual advancement and do loving service and be of service to Krishna. Krishna, use me, right? So he says, use me as your instrument. That is the main thing we request when we are chanting. Devotees develop a spiritual individuality. The devotees love to be an individual serving Krishna with a servile attitude rather than just merging and then after it's so boring to be without any activity after merging that they will actually come down. So that is what we were talking about in this particular slide. So do spirits who attain Brahman realization have a spiritual body? What is the difference between spirit souls comprising Brahma Jyoti and spirit souls here in Maya in the Brahma Jyoti? The spirit, these are some answers related to some of the questions of my last batch of students. So in the Brahma Jyoti, the spirit souls on account of the impersonal views are devoid of body. They don't have a body. But they do have a spiritual body. Okay, so exactly like here in Maya, there are ghosts. They don't have gross bodies. A ghost being devoid of a body, he suffers a lot. The spirit souls, the Brahma Jyoti, although they have no desire or sense gratification, still they feel inconvenience because there is no activity there. Do these spirit souls who attain Brahma realization eventually fall down? Srila Prabhupada clearly says, yes, they do fall down. Your second question about falling down is the answer that is not that one must fall down, but that generally they fall down. Otherwise, they can rise higher, but generally they will fall down. There's a verse of Srimad Bhagavatam which says, my dear lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, persons who are very proud of becoming one through Brahman effulgence and consider that they have become liberated, they are actually in a contaminated consciousness because they are not having devotional service, which should be the final goal, even if you're doing other yogas. So such persons may rise to a high level of spiritual understanding as far as impersonal Brahma Jyoti, but on account of lack of devotional service unto you, they gradually fall down. So I think with this we will end the class. We have finished. We will start with 7.15, the next class. So thank you so much for joining. Vancha kalpataru vyasha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anybody has any questions or doubts?
Mataji, you may have to upload the YouTube live, Mataji.
Yes.